All right, Bethany.
Yes.
Bethany, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Connecticut.
What city?
It wasn't a city, actually. A little town called Southbury.
Hmm.
It's in between Waterbury and Danbury.
And tell me about your childhood growing up. You had both your parents?
Yeah, my mom and dad. I was the fourth child, first child and only child from my father's second marriage. Um,
How would you describe your childhood?
to all outside appearances, modern middle class America,
Pretty normal?
it appeared. It appeared, but behind closed doors it was very abusive, a lot of physical and verbal shit. My father was a recovering alcoholic for a good bit of my life. He ended up going back out. Actually, that was the most peaceful year or so of my growing up, was the year he was drunk. He was way nastier, way more violent, sober than he ever was drunk. I was always considered like an outcast from my family, like ever since birth, really. I wasn't, I feel at least, considered to be a part of the family, being from my father's second marriage. The family never really accepted my mother, you know what I mean? So I was always treated differently, than my own brothers, my cousins, I wasn't accepted. I come from a family of means, my father, he gave up his inheritance, which was half of a business that my grandfather and his brother started when they came home from World War II. They started a garage car dealership, which is a multi-million-dollar business now. And when my grandfather retired, my father turned down my grandfather's half of the business. My father was an employee for the town of Southbury. He ended up retiring as the assistant foreman for the Public Works Department.
Did you finish high school?
I actually dropped out my freshman year. I got my GED shortly thereafter. Then I was going to college in Vermont. I was going with the goal of becoming a veterinarian. But then I got my car accident and I got my brain injury, and that threw my education off the rails. That happened week after my 20th birthday. Yeah, 20th birthday. My birthday is July 17th. My accident happened July 25th, 2001. Just young and dumb and drunk. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were doing a side job up in Dutchess County, right over the border from Sharon. We were drinking all day, we went to the bar for lunch. Needless to say, when we got back to the guy who we were working for his house, my friend who got me the work for the day had to park the guy's truck. His car was parked in the driveway. So I had to move the car. We both went flying up a dirt road at like 100 plus miles an hour. No problem coming back though. When I hit the brakes, they locked up on me and I cut the wheel into the woods. Instead of going out, this is right on Route 4. In my mind, all I could see was hitting like a minivan full of kids coming home from soccer or church or something. So I cut the wheel into the woods, car flipped, landed on its side. I climbed out. All I could think about, shock is a funny thing. I had a bag of weed and a bowl in my pocket, and this is 20 years ago when that stuff was still bad. And all I could think was, I'm gonna get arrested for the weed. And I threw it into the woods, and that's the last thing I remembered. Woke up 2.5 weeks later in Hartford Hospital. I was lifestyle helicoptered from Sharon Hospital. My face was shattered, my jaw was wired shut, my arm, my titanium pins and plates here, my leg was fucked up. that really just derailed my life right there, you know. I mean,
So you hit another car, or you hit?
no, I hit a tree.
You hit a tree.
That's the reason I cut my wheel into the woods. Is
Yeah. You didn't want to hit somebody.
I mean, your whole life in a moment like that flashes before your eyes. Like time. I mean, time's just a concept of the human mind anyway. It's not really real, at least as far as I'm concerned. But it slowed down, like felt like hours that second, you know, where I made that decision and then hit the tree. It just, you know, and I had
You had a friend in the car?
no, thank God, it was just me.
Just you.
No one else was injured, nothing. Like, I'm so grateful for that.
But you were drunk?
Yeah, very much so. You know, it was my fault. You know, I shouldn't have been behind the wheel of the car, and I definitely shouldn't have been driving the way I was driving, you know. But, I mean, shit. It took me a long time to get over that. I was so just depressed, angry, miserable. Like, oh, I just wished I had died in the accident, really. Like, I had no clue why I was still alive, like, why I survived that, because I shouldn't have. I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Like, one of the only reasons I'm alive, like, I mean, and this is just serendipity. Like, the lady that lives across the street from the guy who we're working for is a fucking trauma nurse. She was on her day off from work working in her garden when the car accident happened. The only other person around was my friend, who was just as drunk as I was. If she weren't there, I would have died. Not a doubt in my mind about it.
Wow. So what happened after the accident?
I started systematically destroying my life, you know. I was miserable. I started drinking, like, extremely heavily.
Were you on painkillers?
Yeah, I was on 4 Oxy 80s a day. I was on some other stuff too when I first got out, but that was my regular regimen. After they took me off I think it was Dilaudid and morphine for breakthrough pain over the course of like the first like couple of months. Like, I'd take the Oxy every 6 hours, and then every 2 hours in between that 6 hours. So I'd take the Oxy, say, and then like 2 hours later, I could take the morphine. And then 2 hours after that, I could take the Dilaudid. And then 2 hours after that, I could take the Oxy again. The morphine and the Dilaudid in between, those I was only supposed to take if I needed them.
And this went on for quite a while.
The breakthrough pain, like that I was tapered off of fairly quick. And I understood what those were. Like, everybody knows what morphine is, you know, and hydromorphone, you can kind of piece that one together too. But I had no clue what Oxy was, you know. It hadn't started hitting the news yet. I had no clue. It was something that my doctor prescribed to me, so it obviously had to be all right, you know what I mean? Until 2003 when I got cut off. No taper, nothing. I went in for my monthly visit, and he's like, here, this is going to be your last prescription. And yeah, I found out real quick that it was hillbilly heroin, as they called it. And one thing led to another. I was buying pills on the black market, you know, but with the whole opiate epidemic hitting the news and everything, price went from $10 for a pill. Within 6 months, a year, it was freaking $50, $60, $70, $80, $100 a pill. And I ended up making the switch both to heroin and to injecting. And, you know, it's been a run ever since, you know.
Heroin is your drug today?
Yeah. I was clean for almost 6 years before I ended up coming here to New York. But
I found you in Washington Square Park, but where do you hang out normally?
I live on the corner of West 8th Street and 6th Avenue.
So right here.
Yeah, literally like diagonally like, from the park.
Yeah. And you've been homeless for how long?
It'll be 3 years the end of this winter. Like February, March, somewhere in there, it'll be 3 years.
What's it like being homeless in New York? It gets rainy and cold sometimes.
Yo, I mean, there's a true dichotomy. Like, there's the most miserable moments I've ever had, you know, where there's just, seems like there's no hope, like there's no reason to keep going. And then out of nowhere, like, just somebody, whether it's somebody that I already know or whether it's somebody I've never met before, but like some of the most wonderful, amazing, beautiful people in the world, one of them will come up and they'll just recharge me spiritually, I like to say. You know, because like I said, there's times when you really want to give up, but then one of these people will come up and they'll take their time. And it's not the money. I mean, yeah, money helps. I need it to support my habit, feed myself, shit like that. But it's more the human interaction, the kindness, them recognizing my humanity. You know, taking the time to see me for more than just what you see, you know, not reading, not you know, making a decision about me without reading the book, you know.
I think New Yorkers are much kinder than their reputation.
Bullshit. No, the one, I find there's three classes of people. You have your assholes, the people that will purposely go out of their way to try and make your life harder, to try and hurt you, whether it be emotionally, spiritually, physically, okay? And thankfully, that's a small portion of the population. You know, I'd say like 0.5% maybe. Then you have what I consider the worst is the people that are indifferent. You know, everybody knows who around here knows it's me that lives on that corner. And that stuff is mine. My sign that I fly says homeless trans woman, disowned by my family, struggling to survive. Any kindness, even just a smile, is truly appreciated. God bless. I'll be sleeping, and somebody will be ransacking my belongings, robbing me. And people just walk by. They don't say, excuse me, are they supposed to be doing that? Or try to stop. They do nothing. They just walk by like what's happening is okay. I mean, I've had my shoes stolen. I've had, you know, everything stolen. I mean, there's nothing I've had that hasn't been stolen or thrown out by the police because they're trying to help me. Big joke there. But that indifference, I find that to be the biggest problem. And then you have that other like 0.5% of people that are just these beautiful people, you know, they haven't been blemished by the world that we live in. You know, there's this one family that is, I mean, so wonderful to me. They have a little daughter, Ellaby. I think she's 6. Late spring, early summer, it was her birthday, and she came walking by me. She got a balloon in her hand, you know, like, she looked like the birthday girl. A little group of her friends are with her. And, I try and be very congenial to the people around, especially people I see on a regular basis, my neighbors and the like. I'm like, hey, happy birthday, sweetheart. Hey, and for some reason, I just happen to have this little package of little girls' barrettes. I'm like, hold on a second, I have a present for you. And I gave this little girl, her name's Ellaby, like this beautiful little blonde girl. Her mother is a beautiful woman. She could be a model, probably is. I gave her the barrettes, and, you know, she was all excited. She's like, thank you so much. And, you know, she went on her way with her mom and her friends. Hour or two later, this little girl comes back, and mind you, this is her birthday. She has one of her balloons in this book. The book is a story about this young black girl that's getting harassed and, you know, made fun of and shit like that. And this little girl felt like the book related to what I'm going through as a trans woman. And I mean, she had me bawling my eyes out. I'm about to cry right now because of it, just thinking about it. Not only just the fact that this little 6-year-old girl thought to do something for me, give me a gift on her birthday, but her mother allowed this, you know? Most parents, even just dog parents, you know, do everything they can, scuttle their children, their animal, whatever, as far away from me as quickly as possible. You know what I mean? So for this woman to allow her daughter to have interactions with me on that level, you know, with no bias, no...
Not teaching her to be afraid.
It's beautiful, man. Like, I wish there were more people like that, you know? Because then maybe things wouldn't be the way that they are. If people just had a little bit more compassion, you know? You don't need to give me money. Like that sign says, a smile as you're walking by when I say good morning. You know, not ignoring me, like pretending you don't hear me. I can't tell you how many people will be sitting there looking at their phone. I'll ask them for the time. No, they hear me because they'll look at me when I ask them the question. And they just keep walking. You know, I'm asking you for the time. I'm not asking you for money. I'm not asking you for anything but simply a word, a syllable, a couple syllables, sorry, like, you know.
A little bit of respect.
Yeah, exactly. You know, treat me like I'm a human being, you know. People think India is the most classist country, like, in the world. It's absolutely not. They just admit it. America is way more classist than they are. We just try and say, no, everybody's equal. Bullshit. I can't even go to the bathroom in that park. Every day I get traumatized just trying to use the bathroom in that park. Just today I was in there, I wasn't even in there 2 minutes. And the park police are in there slamming the door. Get out of here, you've been in here forever, da 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 da. Like, I literally was in there for 2 minutes. I'd barely gotten my pants down. And they're telling me I gotta get out. Yet, all those little fucking rich bitches. And not only that, but they tell me I'm in the wrong bathroom all the time. Like, after the couple of cease and desist letters I had my lawyer send them, that's why they do what they do now and center it around something that's supposed, I guess it isn't discriminatory, you know. But
Tell me about being trans here in New York City. Is it difficult?
it's a lot worse than I thought it would be.
Have you been trans? How long have you identified?
I've known my whole life. I didn't come out until like my early 30s. Been just about 10 years now, maybe. So I was terrified to come out. Something happened when I was a child, and it told me I needed to hide who I was, you know. And I didn't until my father was suffering so badly from dementia that fear was lifted from me.
The sexual abuse when you were young?
I prefer not getting into that.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, there's...
What is your drug today?
Heroin.
Heroin? And how do you support your heroin habit?
I panhandle. Like, I don't steal. I don't do, you know, I go around sometimes, like, people throw out a lot of damn good shit around here. I mean, perfectly fine stuff. I picked up a couple of months ago, somebody threw out an air conditioner. It was brand new. It was still wrapped in the plastic. The only reason I could see that they threw it out, on the back part, the part that's outside the window, there was a little tiny dent and a little chip in the paint. That was the only thing that I could see. I looked it up. This was a $600 air conditioner.
Do you still have contact with your family?
No, I haven't talked. The last time I talked to anyone in my family was my mother. She stole my service dog when I ended up out here. And I called her just about 2 years ago now. That was my last attempt to try and get Penelope back from her. But no, I haven't called. I haven't, she has no clue how to get a hold of me. Like, I don't have a phone. I don't believe in them. I won't get one. I use a friend's address to receive mail. Sweet couple that live over on 9th Street. They let me get any mail that I need to get at their address.
That's nice of them.
Yeah, it saved me from using like general delivery up there.
That's what I'm talking about. The New Yorkers can be very kind.
Yeah, no, the ones, like I was saying, the ones that are kind, I mean, they're just these beautiful people. They'd give you the shirt off of their backs if they could, But unfortunately, those kind people are way outnumbered by the ones that are just indifferent. The ones that'll sit there and pretend to be on a phone call when they walk by me. Or, they'll turn their head, pretend to be looking at something across the street. Or, just anything to pretend I'm not there. Pull out the AirPods and put them in, when they see me. Or whatever, like, the people that you sit there and watch pull a cigarette out of their pack, put it back in their pocket. Excuse me, man, can you spare a cigarette? I just bummed this one. Or, it's like, what do you need to lie to a homeless person for in the first place? Like, what's wrong with that picture? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get a lot of it. I try. I consider myself a people watcher. Like, my minor in college was psychology. So I try and make sense of it, but I can't. There's just so much of it that in any rational sort of sense, just it can't make sense. And then the people that are purposely nasty. There's this one woman in the neighborhood we call the Dragon Lady. She works for the Village Alliance, okay? If you just got here, you might not have had any run-ins with the Village Alliance yet, but it's this group of workers. They go around with trash cans and brooms and stuff. They're in each neighborhood, they have their own thing, but they clean up the neighborhood, stuff like that, pick up the trash. I imagine she works in the office or whatever for them, but this woman, she goes around and she purposely tries to emotionally and spiritually damage people like me. She'll come up and start screaming at you. You're a parasite. You're a junkie. You're a whore. This, that, and the other thing, And what I've learned is she's just trying to get you to attack her. She wants you to feed into that negative energy. Because I did for a while, I'd sit there and give it back and forth with her. Fuck you,
You end up in jail.
That's her goal. That's her goal, honestly. One morning, my first winter here, it was really cold, so I was sleeping in a cardboard box. I'd made a little hut out of it. And I woke up to this woman kicking me in the face. A young college girl, chased her off, actually. She called the police for me. Police wouldn't even take a police report on this woman. I had witnesses. They saw this woman kicking me in the face, and they wouldn't do anything about it. But through time and through my own spiritual growth, I learned how to deal with people like her. Instead of feeding into her, I found her kryptonite. First time I did this, I was amazed by the reaction that I got from her. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I really am. That you're so sick that in order to feel better about yourself, that you need to try and harm somebody like me, as if my life isn't difficult enough already, as if I don't struggle with enough already. Like, you gotta come and for no reason try and bring me down, trying to harm my psyche. Like, I'm so sorry that you're that sick, that with all your privilege, all of that in order to feel better about yourself, you gotta do this to me and other people like me. And she did not know what to do. she started calling me a cunt and like, you know, just really, you know, way below like what you'd think someone like this woman would act, you know. This is what you'd expect some like teenage girl like drunk like having a rant would sound like, not some educated like older upper middle class white woman on the streets of New York, you know. And yo, she made me like $40 that day too, because people walking by saw how I was dealing with her, and they came up and they were just like, here, wait, yo, you know. And ever since then, like I've started dealing with people like that, that whole saying, kill them with kindness. I mean, it doesn't always work, but I mean, more often than not, it defuses and, you know, turns the situation in my favor. And I also have a goal in living out here now that it's my choice. Like, I want to change people's perceptions of what a homeless person is. Because we're not all just some drugged out, like, waste of life that's gonna mug you as soon as there's nobody else on the street, you know? Honestly, like, they're the outliers in the homeless community. Yeah, well, if you turn around and you leave your purse, well, a lot of them grab it and run away. You know, good chance, but watch your shit. But, you know, they're not violent, nasty, bad people. They're just people that the game of life is fucking, unfortunately, stacked the cards in a really, you know, got shitty hands, you know? And not everybody has the resources to be able to deal with that. They don't have family. They don't have money, you know? The system looks at them, oh, you're queer or you're black, you know, like, so fuck you, you know? Because that's the way it is a lot of the time. Like, the police won't do a thing to help me. I had a hate crime committed against me the other night. I still haven't heard from the detectives. I've been harassed by this trash truck driver for months and months. Every night about 4 a.m., he drives by my corner and he screams at me, kill yourself, faggot, all sorts of nasty stuff. A couple of weeks ago, though, it started getting physical. Dude got out of his trash truck, chased me around for about 5 minutes with a shovel. So I ran out in the street and tried to flag down a cop, who wouldn't stop, by the way. He just flew by me as I'm out in the middle of 6th Avenue trying to stop him. Maybe a week after that, he was driving by, and out of nowhere, this fucking glass bottle came whizzing by my head. Thankfully, he missed, and I see the trash truck go flying down A Street. I called the police. I filed the complaint. They actually did take a complaint for me this time. But as far as I know, nothing happened because of it, because 4 or 5 days after that, I had just gotten back. It's a little after midnight, I think. This wasn't even 2 weeks ago now, and I bent down. I was kneeling down to look through some food that somebody had left at my spot while I was gone, you know, and out of nowhere, crash right in the back of my head. I get hit with a glass bottle. Shit shattered on my head, smashed all over the sidewalk, you know. And as he's driving away, he said something along the lines, how'd that feel, faggot? These 2 girls, they're here on vacation from Florida. I got them to stop. They witnessed it, and they called the police for me and the like. And whatchamacallit, they sent 1 squad car. 1 squad car for this. They didn't even want to take pictures of the broken glass on the ground. Nothing. Like, you know, if that would have happened to a trans NYU student, half the department would have been there, you know? They would have talked to detectives from the Hate Crimes Bureau. Like, I haven't even talked to a detective. I talked to 2 beat cops, you know? I mean, it is, I guess, being handled by detectives. I don't know whether it's being handled like as a hate crime or not, which it should be. Because a friend of mine who lives on A Street called and tried to see what the status was. you know, because I wanted a restraining order against this guy and like that for my own safety, you know. But they haven't even come to tell me if they've arrested him or anything like that, you know. If I was an NYU student, like, I'd be getting like hourly updates by text, you know. They'd be calling me asking, is my head all right? Would they like me to come, would I like them to come over and put an ice pack on it for me? You know, seriously, I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but their case would be cared about. And I bet you until my friend called, they probably just kind of put it over to the side, like, well, whatever, you know, until they realized that somebody cared. You know, because that's the thing, is they don't think anybody cares about us. You know? And it may be true, I don't have any of my blood family. The family that I've made here for myself, I'll take that family any day over the people that I was born into any day of the week. You know, these people don't have to have me in their lives, you know, they choose to have me, and that's special.
All right, Bethany, thank you so much for sharing your story.
No, not a problem.
I wish you the best of luck out there.
Thank you very much, dude. I appreciate it. I hope it can do some good for someone else, you know.
Yeah, thank you very much.
God bless.